views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of Bronxnet or the program underwriters.
Buenas tardes. Es un placer saludarlos. Muchas gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Les saludamos Jessica Cunnington y Adriana Vargasino. Este foro es una oportunidad, un evento sin precedentes, traído a ustedes por Noticias Univisión 41, por News 12 Bronx, el diario Bronxnet, Wado 1280, la Fiscalía del Bronx y la Oficina del Presidente del Bronx. Este evento es transmitido simultáneamente por las plataformas digitales en todos esos medios. Damos inicio a esta actividad. Aquellos que no pudieron quizás estar presentes, los invitamos a que nos hagan llegar sus preguntas, sus inquietudes o comentarios a través de las redes sociales. Y ahora saludo a mi compañera y colega Jessica Cunnington para la bienvenida en inglés de este evento. Jessica.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here, first of all. Today's forum, bilingual, as you can probably tell. 100%, we have people that could obviously speak both languages around the room and on the panel here, so we want to hear all of your questions. And this is really part of an unprecedented effort brought to you by us at News 12 The Bronx, Univision 41, Bronxnet, Wado 1280, El Diario, the Bronx District Attorney's Office, the Office of the Borough President as well. And we're going to begin with our program. Thank you again for all being here today. We're excited to just have this conversation and have everyone in one room. And those of you who could not be here physically in this room, as we said, we are streaming this on both of our social media sites, as well as our websites as well. So send us your comments or questions via social media. If you have a friend or a family member who can't be here as well, let them know that they can send their questions in via social media.
So let's begin.
Let us begin.
El Bronx lleva décadas tratando de limpiar su reputación como un condado plagado por la delincuencia y la violencia. Y aunque las cosas han cambiado bastante en los últimos años, algunos de los barrios más pobres de la nación siguen estando aquí en el Bronx y la tasa de criminalidad sigue siendo alta en ciertos sectores. Algo que las autoridades, los funcionarios, los líderes comunitarios trabajan para seguir mejorando, y no solamente en el Bronx, también en toda la ciudad, en donde la violencia por armas de fuego causa preocupación enorme entre la comunidad. Es por eso que estamos aquí hoy para analizar este problema, para responder sus preguntas y, ¿por qué no?, proponer posibles soluciones o salidas. Primero veamos lo que hace la violencia con armas de fuego en el país y en el Bronx. ¿Quién era este hombre? Y también si tenía quizás un perfil psicológico especial. El 30 de junio de 2017, los pisos 16 y 17 del Hospital Bronx Lebanon fueron sacudidos por las ráfagas de un rifle AR-15 a manos de un exmédico, el doctor Henry Bello, de 45 años. El hombre disparó a 7 de sus compañeros de trabajo, matando a uno de ellos e hiriendo a otros 6. Lo peor, había comprado el arma con la que cometió la masacre legalmente después de pasar todos los chequeos en una ciudad de Upstate New York. Una escena registrada en otras partes de la Unión Americana con asombrosa familiaridad. El caso del Bronx, así como la interminable lista de episodios, deja al descubierto que este es un problema que se salió de las manos en Estados Unidos. Hasta el año 2013 había en las calles 357 millones de armas, en un país que tenía para ese entonces 317 millones de habitantes. La conclusión: había 40 millones más de armas que de gente en la Unión Americana, según cifras del Servicio de Información del Buró de Alcohol, Tabaco y Armas. Según Brady Campaign, que busca un mayor control a las armas de fuego, en promedio cada día mueren 93 personas por este flagelo. Eso es 33.000 personas cada año. La violencia por armas es la segunda causa de muerte en niños y adolescentes anualmente. Casi 115.000 estadounidenses cada año mueren víctimas en asesinatos, asaltos, suicidios o intentos de suicidio, y también por balas perdidas o incluso bajo la intervención de la policía. Nueva York es una de las ciudades con mayores restricciones al porte de armas en Estados Unidos. En la Gran Manzana la edad mínima para comprarlas es 21 años. Existe un chequeo obligatorio de antecedentes y aquellas personas con problemas mentales que han sido obligadas a recibir tratamiento o quienes tengan antecedentes de ofensas mayores, entre otras ligados a asuntos de drogas, no pueden acceder a las armas. Se exige una licencia para comprar un rifle o pistola y el permiso de esta debe ser renovado cada 3 años con un costo de $340. Las armas deben estar aseguradas con un candado para el gatillo cuando no estén atendidas por sus propietarios. Asimismo, después de la masacre de Sandy Hook, el estado de Nueva York prohibió todos los rifles de asalto, excepto aquellos considerados piezas antiguas o comprados antes de enero de 2013. Hasta ahora hay registrados por la Policía Estatal de Nueva York 44.160 rifles de asalto en el estado. La pregunta para muchos es qué tan efectivas resultan estas restricciones y si realmente la discusión es solo sobre leyes. Al fin y al cabo, en el caso de Bello, contaba con una licencia del estado. En el condado del Bronx, tema de discusión hoy, el Departamento de la Policía de Nueva York compartió las cifras con Univisión 41. El año 2016 se presentaron 247 incidentes, de los cuales 98 personas murieron y 287 resultaron afectadas. Una cifra menor que en 2015, cuando se registraron 320 casos con cerca de 91 fallecidos y 369 víctimas. Aquí el resumen histórico de los años recientes. Lo inquietante es que si bien cifras del Departamento de Policía aseguran que el crimen en la Gran Manzana sigue descendiendo frente al 2017, la violencia en el Bronx ha tenido un aumento y casi la mitad de los episodios violentos, es decir, un 47%, se registra allí, en un condado de casi 1,5 millones de habitantes. Buena parte de la situación afecta en particular a personas con problemas mentales. Del total de 93 personas que fallecen al día en el país por armas de fuego, 34 son asesinados y 58 de esas muertes, es decir, 2/3 partes, son suicidios. Un arma de fuego en casa puede resultar en 22 veces más probabilidades de que se use en un suicidio, homicidio doméstico o un disparo accidental que en defensa propia.
Well, thank you for that package, that story by Adriana. So for decades, as we know, the Bronx has been trying to clean up the bad stereotypes, the reputation of crime and violence. We know that. And even though things have been turning around, we know, in the past few years, with amazing efforts by the NYPD and others, the Bronx still contains, again, as we know, some of America's poorest neighborhoods. And in some parts, the crime rate remains relatively high. So that's something that authorities, legislators, and community leaders are, of course, working on to keep improving, and not just in the Bronx, across the entire city, where gun violence is a big cause of concern amongst, of course, community members, young and old. And that is the reason why we're here today, of course, answering your questions with these officials. But first, we're going to see what gun violence generates.
We got to put down these guns and raise our children right.
Criminals are now running our city.
For my own safety, I don't even know what to think now.
You took an innocent life.
Gun violence on the streets of the Bronx, affecting the men,
22-year-old Raul Melendez, who was shot and killed in this apartment building.
Women,
they found her shot in the face, lying dead outside the bodega.
And children of our borough.
A stranger began to shoot at another man, one of those bullets hitting the innocent boy in his head.
To see the amount of blood that this baby had to, poured out of him.
Devastating families and communities. Sparking rallies and activism against gun violence. But then it happens again.
The two of them square off, and then that's when the gun comes out.
While crime citywide has decreased, certain areas in the Bronx are not seeing that same pattern.
It's crazy out here. It happens every other day.
And I'm always at home with the kids. We don't get to do anything.
It's getting crazy. You can't even come down to the store anymore without gunfire. Not only are the people in our streets dying, the very people that are here to protect us are the ones that's dying.
Detectives have been trying to gather every bit of information they can about Bonds to figure out why he left his apartment here yesterday and shot an NYPD officer point blank in the head.
This has to stop.
Detective Mia Soti's familia killed in the line of duty July 5th, 2017. 6 days earlier, police say Henry Bello walked into Bronx Lebanon Hospital, where he used to work as a doctor, and shot 7 people, killing one of them and then himself.
There's blood everywhere. You have to wade through that and take care of the patient, remove them rapidly.
We saw active shooter situations dozens of times across the country, but on June 30th last year, the Bronx was the headline.
They started running, they started locking themselves in some rooms.
While gun control has been in the national spotlight recently,
I'm just scared. I mean, it could be any one of us.
Bronxites have been marching for their lives and loved ones lost. So tonight, we continue the conversation toward change and less guns on the borough's streets.
It's about all of us standing together, not just one person. The community, the world, everybody. So we can stop the senseless shootings and killings everywhere.
And our colleagues at Bronxnet also prepared a presentation as well, a little bit of a story to talk about gun violence and its impact on the community as well.
We want justice. We want justice.
Bronx high school students gather at 6 a.m. to travel to Washington, D.C. They will join students from around the country protesting gun violence.
I am feeling very empowered to make a change for once.
How many of you, by a show of hands, know someone who's been affected by gun violence? Raise your hand. Anybody here who's been affected by gun violence or knows someone who has been, a family member? You march for them. Make noise for them.
Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. secured 4 buses to take students to the March for Our Lives rally.
This is a way that we support our youth so they can express themselves, so they can send a loud message to the NRA, to those in Washington, D.C., that enough is enough. Whether you're a Latino or an African American from New York City or a white student from the South, too many of our youth across the nation have been affected by gun violence, and it has to stop.
Feeling outraged and helpless, students were empowered to take a stand for their rights.
No rational argument. The NRA is the National Rifle Association, and they want to keep the guns. They want to protect our Second Amendment right, but at the cost of children's lives, at the cost of millions are dying from bullet guns that they are helping reproduce. And so that is not a rational argument in my sense.
I hope to accomplish going to DC. I hope to see a lot of passion in people's eyes when going there, because I understand that this is a very big issue and this is a very big thing that Congress cannot avoid. So I hope to make change.
As students are off to DC to march for their lives, they hope by rallying together that Congress will make the necessary change to keep them safe.
Enough is enough, ni una muerte más. Muchas gracias a ti, Jessica, por este interesante paquete y obviamente a la gente de Bronxnet. Y antes de comenzar con nuestros panelistas, quisiéramos destacar y saludar de forma muy especial a este grupo de estudiantes, de gente que está aquí de primera mano, en primera línea. Nos gustaría saber de dónde vienen ustedes, muchachos. We would like to give first a round of applause for this great group of students who are joining us today. We really look forward to hear your comments, or if you guys feel like sharing your opinion about this important subject, right, Jessica?
And joining us. I mean, we know you guys are the future, so shout out to you for being here after school, too. So making sure that you're front row, and you guys have come, a lot of you, so that's awesome. What school are you guys from? Or schools? Charter High School of Bronx Social Justice. So we got a few schools in the house. Oh, you're all. Okay.
Very nice. Bueno, vamos ahora a escuchar.
Bass.
Yeah,
I
bass.
got you.
Bueno, y vamos ahora entonces a escuchar una muy valiosa información de nuestros panelistas. Y luego ya abriremos el micrófono para todos ustedes. Comenzamos, en primer lugar, con el presidente del condado del Bronx, el señor Rubén Díaz Jr., quien es además nuestro anfitrión. Gracias por recibirnos en este día tan importante, en esta importante discusión. Él apoya los cambios en las leyes relacionadas a la venta y compras de armas de fuego.
Yes, and we're going to introduce you to all of the panelists that you see sitting up here first, and then we will open up the mic to all of you because I know you have your questions as well. And we're going to start with Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., who is letting us into his home, too. So thank you for opening this up to us.
Hello. Thank you. And welcome to everyone. Bienvenidos a todos. I just want to first begin by welcoming and thanking all of our sponsors, Univision, News 12, Bronxnet, Radio Vado, all of the media outlets, El Diario, as well as thanking all of the panelists who are with us here today, especially the Office of the District Attorney in the Bronx and the New York Police Department. Can we all give them a strong round of applause? For what I believe is an important conversation. Today's event is dubbed, the title is Enough is Enough. The fact is that we've been saying that too often, and we've been saying that too much. When Columbine happened, I don't know how many of you and how old you were, but this was 1999. When Columbine happened, everyone said, enough is enough. Since Columbine, 187,000 students all over the nation have been exposed to gun violence at their school. Just at their school. And at least 130 have been killed in school shootings and another 254 were injured. But we said enough is enough. Fast forward, since Sandy Hook, 2012, there have been at least 239 school shootings nationwide. In these instances, 438 people were shot, 138 of whom were killed. And yet, we said enough is enough. And just recently, we saw in Florida what occurred. And now people are saying enough is enough. I believe that what makes this moment in time different is the fact that we have young voices now. Because I believe that since Columbine and even since before that, and we haven't even touched on what's happening in your neighborhood, in your communities. But I believe that prior to that, adults have failed. Elected officials have failed the youth. But to see what happened last month when hundreds of thousands of young people went to Washington, D.C., and millions more marched in their respective communities and cities. When I saw right here in front of Borough Hall, where we sponsored 150 young people who, in the spirit of Martin Luther King, in the spirit of Rosa Parks, in the spirit of the freedom fighters, said, you know what, we want to go down to D.C. And it's a shame because you didn't go to D.C. to ask for more funding for your school or for more technology in your schools. You went to D.C. because you were fighting for your lives. And the conversation is changing. And I have a lot more to say, but I want to say this to young folks here. This is your moment. You have the right opportunity. Don't be shy. Don't mince words. Don't be intimidated. You have here an amazing group of people with a lot of experience and many more that are watching. But I believe that in your youth, knowing what you go through every single day in your schools, in your communities, with your friends. I mean, how many of you here believe that there's too much gun violence in your neighborhood? Raise your hand. The young folks, I'm speaking to the young folks.
How many of you believe, based on what you hear, that it is too easy to purchase a gun? Raise your hand. How many of you believe that the time has come so that we can all make a difference? Raise your hand. So today, what I hope that you get out of this, and that we get out of this more importantly, is your take, your recommendations, what you feel are the solutions, what you feel that we can be doing better. And I look forward to having this conversation. So thank you, and I appreciate not only you being here tonight, but the fact that the young folks are finally taking charge of such a serious issue that has become a crisis in this nation. And when you look at whether it was a civil rights movement, when you look at movements all over the world, the people who have actually made change are young folks. So thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Borough President. And now we're going to hear from Jason Wilcox, the Assistant Chief of Bronx Detectives at the NYPD, who's obviously very familiar with crime-related statistics across the city. Obviously, here in the Bronx, you were an officer at the 4-4 as well, and you're a Bronx resident. So thank you for being here.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jason Wilcox. I'm the Chief of Bronx Detectives. I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I want to particularly send out a big hey to all you kids. Thank you for being here. It's so important that you're here tonight. So, as the Chief of Bronx Detectives, we obviously investigate gun violence, shootings, murders. And my detectives are committed to the safety of every corner of every community in the Bronx. I have detectives in every precinct in the Bronx. I also have my detectives in Bronx Gang and Bronx Narcotics who are working tirelessly to impact on violence, particularly gun violence. When we see guns, we go after them. So I just want to give everyone a little perspective of gun violence in the Bronx. And I know I've often heard the borough president talk about the Bronx of the past and the bad days and how the Bronx is not like that anymore. And I was thinking back to 25 years ago when I was a young police officer in the Bronx, right in this area, right in the 44th precinct, right around this courthouse. If you go back to then, to the early 90s, and I know you weren't here for that, shootings in the Bronx are down like 81% from where we were back then. And that's good news, and that's an achievement. But at the NYPD, we don't rest on that achievement, on that success. We build on that success continually and constantly. And I'm going to, in a few minutes, explain some of the aspects of what my detectives are doing to help you and help the communities out. But before I do that, I want to introduce, I brought an amazing team with me tonight of NYPD people who are going to also answer some of your questions tonight. Tonight I brought with me Chief Nilda Hoffman, our Chief of Community Affairs. Chief Brian Conroy, Chief of School Safety Division. And with Chief Conroy tonight, he brought a few very important people in School Safety Division, who I'm sure some of you have seen. Jerome Quinn, Deputy Director, Bronx, Manhattan. And Chris Rangel, the Executive Officer of Bronx West. And last but not least, from Patrol Borough Bronx, representing so many of these community affairs officers and so many of these NCOs here tonight, Chief Pat McCarthy. So let me take you back to last year. What happened in the Bronx last year with shootings? We had 231 shooting incidents last year. That's a lot. That's way too many. 39 of those resulted in murder. Way too many. But if you go back just 4 years, you're going to see it's 115 fewer than we experienced in 2014. That's a 33% reduction. And it's often, NYPD, we talk a lot about what's going on with the reduction of shootings throughout the city, and it's significant and it's notable. But if you go back for 2014, 4 years, the city was down about 380 shootings in that period. 30% comes from this one particular borough, and that's a sizable, notable number when you look at, that includes all of Brooklyn, all of Queens, all of Manhattan, all of Staten Island. And that attributes to what we've done with the NYPD in the last 4 years. We don't rest on our success, we continually build on it. And it's done through incredible coordination, through the various units in the NYPD, through my detectives, through the people on patrol, through your NCOs, through school safety. Amazing, amazing people. And it's all, what brings down gun violence is not one or two things, it's many things. And also, it includes working very closely with our political leaders, working with our Bronx District Attorney. We also work with the U.S. Attorney. We are dedicated and we are driven to continually help you to drive down Bronx violence. And one of the most important aspects of our success in driving down Bronx shootings is the community. Make no mistake of your role in bringing this down. And I implore you, all you young kids, get involved and stay involved because we need you. And that's how those decreases, 81% in 25 years, 33% in 4 years, that's how it's going to keep going down with your help. You're going to continue to work with your precincts, with your law enforcement, with your school safety, with your police officers, with your NCOs. You are one of the most important aspects of reducing gun violence in the Bronx. So stay committed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Assistant Chief Wilcox. Continuamos ahora con la señora Luis Herrera, quien preside la Oficina de Seguridad y Desarrollo Juvenil en el Departamento de Educación de la Ciudad de Nueva York, la cual se enfoca en crear y mantener un ambiente escolar seguro. We now continue with Luis Herrera, CEO of Office of Safety and Youth Development at the New York City Education Department. Adelante, señora Herrera.
Good evening. My name is Lois Herrera, and I'm the CEO of the Office of Safety and Youth Development at the Department of Education. I have worked in education for over 30 years and in the Office of Safety and Youth Development for over a decade. Nothing is more important than the safety and well-being of our students and staff. Schools are safe havens and community hubs, and my office works closely with school communities to ensure that they are providing supportive, welcoming, and inclusive learning environments. This includes training staff on safety protocols and procedures and providing students with the social-emotional supports through guidance counselors and social workers that nurture a positive environment within the school. We partner across city agencies to support our schools, including with my colleagues here tonight at the NYPD and Thrive NYC. Our long-standing relationship with the NYPD ensures our buildings are secure and are appropriately staffed with school safety agents. In partnership with Thrive NYC, we're expanding mental health services to provide resources to every school. Families are critical partners, and their involvement in our schools is essential to creating strong school communities. I want to most especially acknowledge the young people here today. Safety in schools starts with you and is for you. Muy buenas noches, mi nombre es Lois Herrera y soy la ejecutiva principal de la Oficina de Seguridad y Desarrollo Juvenil en el Departamento de Educación. Quiero confirmar y afirmar que la violencia no tiene lugar en las comunidades escolares. Gracias.
Lois, thank you. The next remarks will come from Bronx District Attorney Darcel Clark, who is here. In her office, obviously, she works very closely with Gun Trafficking Unit, which of course seeks to stem the flow of illegal weapons to our borough.
Good evening, everyone, and it's quite an honor to be out here today to discuss the crucial issues of gun control and gun violence. And I want to say to the young people here, your attendance is so inspiring to those of us who work in criminal justice every day when we strive to reduce gunfire on the streets of the Bronx and to make the streets safe for you and all the citizens of the Bronx. You know, lately, and like the borough president said, there's so many shootings that are related to schools. Just a little over a month ago, the 17 students in Parkland, the deaths that happened there. Terrible, terrible thing for students to have to go to school every day and be afraid to go to school because gun violence can occur. I saw on the film there, and I commend you, students, some of you here, that went to Washington, D.C., on March 24th to demand action on guns. And I think, you know what? This time is different. I feel it being different, and I have hope now. So many times I go to forums and meetings in the community as a district attorney, and we talk about safety and we talk about violence. And a lot of times it's a lot of adults in the room, and we're kind of like all talking to each other or at each other. And I noticed that the people that are missing in the room are the young people. And I think you are the difference that's going to happen this time so that we're going to turn this thing around. And it's only because of the energy and the enthusiasm you have that brings hope to all of us that this thing, you know, will turn itself around. The Bronx has come a long way. I mean, I've been a DA for 2 years, and we've seen record number lows of violence in our community, in the city and in the Bronx. But there still is violence. And I know that each of you still have to deal with those things in your community each and every day. So in as much as we like to laud the fact that crime is down, you live with the reality right in your community that the stuff is still happening. And it's up to us, all of us, you as young people, elected officials, the police department, the schools, the city, the mayor's office, all of us have to work together to make sure that you are safe. So many young people, and I'm the prosecutor, so I'm the one in charge of people, charging people for gun possession, and I see so many young people coming in and out of the criminal justice system because of the violence that's happening in our community. And that violence not only ruins their lives and that they end up in jail, but the trauma that's experienced by so many of the victims and the survivors and their families. So we need to do more. And as district attorney, I have worked these last 2 years building relationships, of course, with NYPD, the borough president's office, the city, the DOE, but also for those community groups that are essential in fighting this scourge of violence that's happening in our communities. And I'm talking about the Cure Violence community. I'm talking about Guns Down, Life Up, that started in Lincoln Hospital just 1 year ago, and I was there for the launch. So many of you that are out here, Stand Up to Violence, Bragg, SOS, so many of them that really start, right, Stop Shooting, Start Living. All of you, you're credible messengers because you're the ones that can connect to these young people in the communities to get them to think about it before they pick up that gun again and do something, before they think about revenge rather than healing and curing our community. So I commend you all for the work that you do because you meet the people right where they are before they get to me. That's what I want, for you to meet them where they are. And because prevention is so much, you will never make it to the criminal justice system if the prevention measures that we have in place really work. So in addition to working with those groups, my office has several programs that we do with young people to help in this. We have a program called Concept, which means creating opportunities necessary to create empowered, positive teens. And it's an 18-week program where we go into the middle schools and teach them about decision making and, not joining gangs, and being positive role models and leadership and learning how to solve problems. Those are the things that are going to help you in turning this around. So I look forward to, the conversation that we have tonight. As a prosecutor, I'm part of a national organization called Prosecutors Against Gun Violence, and I too went to Washington, D.C. to lobby the legislators to do more in changing the gun laws. And there's one gun law called the Concealed Carry Reciprocity Act. And you know what that is? That act says that if you could carry a gun in the state that you live in, you'll be able to carry it anywhere in the United States. Well, that's not fair, because in New York, we have some of the strictest gun laws they are. And that's why we have record number of reduction in crime with gun violence. But if somebody comes from a state where you don't have to have a license, or you don't have to be screened, or any background check, can come into New York and wreak havoc. So I fought against that. And there's so many other laws that we, as a people, as Bronxites, can get behind to make sure that we remain safe. So I commend you, young people. You are going to make the difference. I can't wait to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, D.A. Clark, for those encouraging words. Thank you very much. Obviamente agradecemos a la fiscal Clark por esas palabras que dan ánimo, que dan fuerza. Es posible lograr un control mayor de estas armas y cambiar la situación de violencia. Queremos invitarlos y recordarles que en minutos vamos a comenzar con las preguntas. Vamos a ir ahora con nuestra última panelista, aunque no menos importante, por supuesto, es Jennifer Páez, la directora de Asuntos de la Comunidad de la organización Thrive New York City, creada por la ciudad de Nueva York para ofrecer servicios de salud mental de forma gratuita. And now, last but not least, we hear Jennifer Páez, Outreach Director, Thrive New York City, a New York City initiative dedicated to offer free mental health services.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, I'm Jennifer Páez, and I'm the Outreach Director for Thrive NYC. I want to thank everyone so much for having us here today, to all the sponsors, to all the panelists. We're very excited today to talk about resources that are available to you in the community. My job as part of Thrive NYC is to increase awareness of resources that are available to you, to parents, to students, to teachers, to everyone in this city right now, available to really fight against the concerns that we have every day. I used to work as a teacher, and I used to work a lot with students. And the concerns that I've seen firsthand is that trauma is a very real thing when we talk about violence. And we have to make sure that we are having conversations together about how we can overcome shame, how we overcome stigma affiliated with mental illness, so that we can make sure that we're all there for each other and avoid circumstances of violence as well, and help each other through those difficult situations. Thrive NYC is a program, 54 different programs, over 20 different agencies in the city, and our hope is to help bridge gaps of services, once again partner with communities, and I'm excited here to speak with you all today about those things available to you. I'll try to do a few words in Spanish. Soy Jennifer Páez, soy la directora de participación de la comunidad para Thrive NYC. Estoy acá para hablarles todos de los recursos que están listos para ustedes usar cualquier día, y estoy feliz de estar acá con todos y hablarles y responder a tus preguntas. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, Jennifer. Pues gracias a todos nuestros panelistas por sus comentarios. Vamos ahora a darles la palabra a ustedes, a nuestros invitados especiales, a nuestro público. Lo que vamos a hacer, ustedes levantan su mano, les llevaremos el micrófono, o también, si prefieren, mejor, creo que ya tenemos allí una fila, mejor aún, cambiamos la metodología. Cuando tengan una pregunta, caminamos hacia el micrófono y poco a poco pues podremos ir haciendo nuestros interrogantes, planteárselos a nuestros invitados especiales. Jessie.
So thank you again to all the panelists. Thank you for your intros. Such valuable information. And it's only going to lead to great questions because it looks like we have a line already ready to go. But just raise your hand, or you could just head on over and get online to the mic, which, as you can see, is right there. And it looks like we have some people ready to start answering questions. If you're watching live on Facebook or live on any of the streaming sites, we want to welcome you. We just did our introductions of our amazing panelists and experts who are here to answer all of the questions you have tonight. And if you have a question on social media, totally comment on the live stream and answer or ask your question. We can answer it here, but we do have a line ready to go with some great questions, I assume. So our first one, do you want to step up, introduce yourself, and obviously ask your question?
Hi and good evening. My name is Yannick Peña.
Little louder.
Good evening. My name is Yannick Peña. Borough President, I wanted to ask you, how would your administration, in conjunction with the NYPD, would get illegal guns off the street when they refuse to turn them in at gun buyback programs?
I didn't hear you. Say that again. Speak into the mic.
How would your administration, in conjunction with the NYPD, would remove illegal guns off the street when they refuse to turn them in at buyback programs?
Well, we've done a number of buyback programs since I've been the borough president. In fact, initially, the first couple of years, we helped with the district attorney's office, with the NYPD, to fund the buyback program. For those of you who don't know, we always have this buyback program throughout the city of New York, where we designate a day and locations where you could turn in your guns or your firearms, and you get a cash for those guns. What people don't realize is that the buyback program is not exclusive to just those days. You can go to any police precinct and turn in your guns, no questions asked. Now, the fact is that there have been buyback programs. I think the first year that I did it, we did over 1,000 weapons that were taken off. We did about 6, 7 different locations, namely churches all over the Bronx. So we've had it as much as that high. And then we've had other buyback programs that haven't been that successful. But I believe this. I believe that one weapon off the street is one less weapon that can create havoc or harm. Now, the fact is that the NYPD, the district attorney's office, they'll continue to do this. But without the community's help, without your help, without your commitment to talk to somebody that you know, to convince somebody that you know, that the right thing to do is to turn in that weapon. Without that, we're never going to be successful. So we'll continue to do that. What I would suggest, or what I would ask you, is what are the things? What are we doing wrong? What is it that you think that we can do better, so that people feel much more compelled to turn in those firearms when we do the gun buyback program? Do you have any suggestions?
Perhaps in schools they should promote a sort of culture of responsibility, which I feel is not present in New York at the moment, at least with the youth. I've been in schools and I've heard kids joking about blowing people's heads up, and they don't seem to realize how serious that comment is. Nobody seems to take responsibility for what they say and how it affects the community.
In schools?
In schools, at least with the youth.
So you're saying that aside from the actual act of where it gets to a shooting, a lot of this has to do with how people interact in schools?
I would just say that the way the culture is going at the moment in schools, at least with young people, it's definitely, I would say, toxic at the moment. I would use that term. People don't really, at least from the people that I've interacted with, they don't really take violence seriously at all. And I feel like we definitely need to promote a better culture than that.
I know that, I'm sorry, Wilcox. Before the Wilcox takes over, if there are any suggestions between you or anyone, any of the youth, that you can give us
that would make somebody come in and want to, if there's any suggestions, please offer them to us. Wilcox?
Presidente, perdón, Mr. Michael
En español.
Sí, un comentario pequeño para nuestra audiencia en español. Recuerda también que tenemos transmisión en las redes sociales.
La pregunta del joven fue que nosotros tenemos un programa en la ciudad de Nueva York, gracias al Departamento de Policía, con la oficina de los fiscales en los diferentes condados, donde le dan un dinero a cualquier persona sin preguntarle nada, sin cuestiones, cuando entregan un arma de fuego. Él me preguntó qué es lo que nosotros podemos hacer con nuestra oficina, trabajando con las diferentes agencias, con el Departamento de Policía, con la fiscal, a ver cómo nosotros podemos convencerle al pueblo que entreguen su arma de fuego. Nosotros hemos hecho un sinnúmero de días. La realidad es que cada día, yo no sé si la comunidad lo sabe, pero cada día uno puede entregar su arma de fuego en un precinto y le dan el dinero sin preguntarle nada. Pero hemos visto que año a través de año menos y menos personas están entregando. Yo lo que le estoy preguntando al joven y a la juventud, ¿qué es lo que ellos nos pueden avisar a nosotros, que nosotros podemos hacer diferente para que más gente pueda participar en este programa?
Muchas gracias, presidente. Mr. Wilcox.
All right, I just want to touch base really quickly on what you asked. So everyone in here has heard that term, if you see something, say something, right? Yes? That applies to school violence as well. And it also goes beyond that. If you hear something, say something. The people over in the School Safety Division are incredibly dedicated and committed to your safety in schools. They do an amazing job throughout the city, particularly here in the Bronx. I get to work with them. I get to see what they do. So it goes back to participation and commitment and responsibility. We need you, when you hear something, to act on it, to let us know if there's something's wrong. And I guarantee you, and Chief Conroy can tell you better, that it will be taken seriously, it will be investigated fully, and if need be, it will be acted upon. It's very, very, very important to us, and we need your cooperation with that. We really do. You're a major part of this. We need your help on this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilcox. Para la audiencia hispana, pues él lo que dice básicamente es que así como en otros asuntos, la policía de Nueva York insiste en el que si usted ve algo, pues denúncielo, que es así también lo que sucede con la violencia dentro de las escuelas. Ellos están invitando a que se acerquen a la comunidad, que se acerquen a la policía y que revelen o entreguen información cuando la tengan. Y ha dicho adicionalmente, estamos dedicados a garantizar la seguridad en las escuelas, en la ciudad y por supuesto en el Bronx. Serán tratados con seriedad, investigado a totalidad cualquier denuncia. Muchas gracias. Vamos con la siguiente pregunta.
Sí, buenas. Mi nombre es David Santos. Tengo una pregunta hoy para Jennifer Páez. Solamente una pregunta. Mira, ¿qué podemos hacer como comunidad para evitar esas armas? Porque ya yo no aguanto. Ya me cansé de las armas, oíste, porque eso me pasó a un amigo una vez, oíste, porque casi le pegó un tiro, oíste, casi en el torso. ¿Qué podemos hacer, oíste, como comunidad, oíste, para evitar las armas, oíste, y así retirar las armas, oíste, de una vez por todas?
Perdón, ¿puedes repetir? ¿Quieres evitar qué?
¿Qué podemos hacer como comunidad para evitar las armas? Evitar las armas, oíste, por ejemplo, retirar las armas, oíste, para que ninguna víctima, oíste, puede caer otro tiro, oíste, de cualquier arma. Porque ya estamos cansados ya de eso.
What he's asking, what can we do to get rid of firearms?
Well, quiero hacer tu pregunta en español, responder tu pregunta. Yo estoy acá para hablar de los recursos para enfermedades mental. I would let the assistant chief talk about how we can get rid of arms and firearms more specifically. But I can just say that if, as a community, once again, what the Assistant Chief was just saying, if we see something, we have to say something. Si vemos algo, necesitamos decir que vemos algo. Pero más de eso, también para los recursos mentales, para ayudar los recursos mentales, necesitamos estar ayudando a todos nuestra comunidad. Necesitamos tener abierto nuestras mentes, necesitamos estar hablando con uno a otro de lo que vemos en las escuelas. Si alguien está hablando algo que está deprimido, que necesita asistencia, no podemos tener eso adentro. Necesitamos ir a los profesores, a los principales, a los trabajadores sociales que existen en las escuelas para decir que ven lo que ven ustedes en las escuelas para tenerle ayuda a ellos. I'd like to translate in English to say that if we see something as a community, if you see something that other students are concerned about, if they're dealing with depression, if they're dealing with anxiety, if they're talking about hurting themselves, to Mr. Peña's point earlier, we need to have a culture of responsibility. We need to be responsible to each other, to ourselves, and to make sure that folks around us feel that they are accepted, that there is no shame in dealing with these concerns. And I would like to say that just because someone is dealing with mental illness does not mean that they are violent. This is a common misconception in the media that just because someone is dealing with some type of mental illness, that it's going to equal some type of violence. It's not true. The truth is that folks who are dealing with a mental illness are much likely to deal with violence against them. So we want to make sure that when we're talking about these things, we're not also stigmatizing the concerns that we see in folks every day. But I think to your larger point, a tu otro punto, I'd like to lend it over to the Assistant Chief to talk about firearms and how we can police those things better.
Well, the hard answer is there's no easy answer, and there's no one answer. The answer is that there are many, many, many facets that need to be done continually to impact on gun violence throughout this city, this country, and particularly here in the Bronx. I'll tell you a couple things that, obviously I'm the chief of Bronx Detectives, so some of the units, my investigators are very dedicated and very driven to drive down gun violence. And one of the things that we've done over the last 3-4 years is we've done very specific, targeted, long-term investigations into gangs, crews, and groups that sell narcotics in the Bronx. And we all know that those groups, those crews, those gangs have been drivers of violence, particularly shootings in the past. So through my detectives in Bronx Gang, Bronx Narcotics, just to name a few, there are many other units, including Gun Violence Suppression Division, Violent Reduction, that they're also doing long-term cases. But so just see where we've come just in a few years. In 2015, there were 102 crew or gang-related shootings in the Bronx. Last year there was 41. So that's a 60% reduction in that type of violence. Let's go talk about narcotics-related shootings. 2015, there were 61 in the Bronx. Last year, there were 30. 30 too many, but 30. That's a 51% reduction. So those are some of the ways, through those very difficult, complex, but thorough investigations that we're doing into some of the people that drive violence in here, that are helping us suppress shooting violence and getting guns off the street. And that's just some of what we're doing on the detective end. What Patrol is doing is tremendous. Nearly 900 guns were recovered in the Bronx last year. Over 1,200 arrests were made with guns recovered. That's outstanding work, and we're going to continue to do that, and we're just going to keep pushing it forward. And that's just, I hope that answers some of your question. There's so many aspects to this.
I'd also like to answer that as well. At the district attorney's office, it's my job each and every day to prosecute people that are bringing these guns into our community in the first place. So one of the things that I did as an office is we started a gun trafficking unit. And what we do is we get intelligence and information from people like you in the community to tell us who these people are that are moving the guns into our communities. There are certain states like Georgia, southern states, and Pennsylvania where it's very easy to get guns. Well, what happens is that they buy the guns there and they bring them into the Bronx and they're selling them. So I have a particular unit that works on investigating those types of people that are bringing the guns in and making sure that we get them off the street. The last operation that we had, we ended up getting 50 guns from 4 individuals that lived here in the Bronx that were bringing guns in. So it's important, the information that you give us. You can give your information anonymously. There's ways that you can do it because I know people are concerned about their safety. But if you don't tell us, it's going to be even more unsafe. So if you give the information to the police anonymously, you can call 911, 311. My office takes complaints. You could come in, give your information, and we will work it from there with the NYPD, with ATF, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Administration of the federal government. Work with the Cure Violence groups. They know the people that are out there. Talk to them when you know information. Let them intercede and see if they can to get the guns turned over. And the gun buybacks are important as well. So even though we may not necessarily get those guns that are committing the actual shootings on our street, you have to remember it's still about safety. That stops a kid from picking up a gun in a house and shooting his little brother or sister or classmate if they put it in their book bag and bring it to school. So those types of things, those gun buybacks are very important. And Chief, I'm glad you're here, and Chief Hoffman as well, because I know that out of community affairs comes the gun buyback. I got to tell you, I've been getting requests from the community to do another one, and I'm ready to do one whenever you are, and I know the borough president will join us as well. So it's important that we do those things. Give us the information and we'll take it from there, and we'll make sure you're safe at the same time.
Bueno, para nuestra audiencia en español, casi que el mejor resumen lo ha hecho la propia DA. La DA Clark, quien ha dicho pues que obviamente la clave está en la colaboración y contribución de la comunidad. Ha dicho que pues han estado mejorando en esa tarea y que la clave obviamente es que la gente pues siga ayudando, cooperando para investigar a la gente, que las autoridades puedan establecer quiénes son los que ingresan justamente esas armas al mercado, cómo es que llegan a la comunidad. Puede ser una denuncia anónima, dice la DA Clark. Esta información de seguridad es fundamental, no solamente pues, para hacer más seguras las calles, sino incluso los propios hogares, en donde muchas veces también el riesgo es que en casa un niño pueda tomar un arma que no debe estar allí y obviamente pues, con todo lo que esto significa, los peligros para un hogar. Siempre se puede reportar de forma anónima y sin represalias en el precinto legal. Y una vez más pues, ha reportado la importancia de la colaboración entre las autoridades. La siguiente pregunta.
Hi, my name is Wesley, and I'm a leader at Sisters and Brothers United. I have 3 questions. One of our biggest concerns when talking about gun control is that people's immediate reaction is to increase police presence. However, when that happens, people of color and queer people like myself are targeted. So how are you going to ensure that one, there's real police accountability to ensure that unjust harassment doesn't occur, and 2, that we don't have another Sahid Vassell incident like in Crown Heights, and finally 3, that schools have a safe and supportive environment with guidance counselors and social workers, and not a prison-like environment with more cops and metal detectors and a real way to solve issues within a school community.
Just repeat the second half of your question. Very, because the assistant chief did not get the tail end of that.
The last question?
Yes, the last half of it. Yes.
That schools have safe and supportive environments with more guidance counselors and social workers, and not a prison-like environment with more cops and metal detectors and a real way to solve school issues.
That's the DOE question. I think that's the DOE question.
I'm not sure that yes, this one's working. We work very, very hard. I really appreciate your question because I agree with you. I think the solution is informing community within schools, and community includes support for students who need someone to talk to or want someone to talk to, and be conscious that we were established to be learning environments and welcoming communities. We are fortunate that our school safety agents are part of our communities, are an integral part. And being part of a community means we all have a responsibility to look out for each other. And that means if you know something similar to the answer to the last question, if you become aware of a student or a staff member or a visitor to the school who appears distressed or unhappy, nervous, you know that somebody is carrying a weapon, it's upon all of us to let someone know. And guidance counselors and social workers are really go-to people that do know how to handle and address your fears. So I encourage you, if it's not a counselor or social worker, find a trusted adult that you feel you can go to express your concerns, whether for yourself or for fellow students.
Señora Herrera, un comentario breve en español, de pronto, sobre el mismo tema.
Sí, las comunidades escolares son eso, precisamente comunidades. Y todos tenemos la responsabilidad de ayudar, de mirar, de poner cuidado a los demás. Si uno se siente que hay alguien que tiene un problema o está súper nervioso, siempre hay que buscar con quién hablar y contar. Y eso puede ser la trabajadora social, como puede ser una consejera. Pero también tenemos la suerte de que tenemos agentes, o sea, de seguridad en los colegios que son parte de la misma comunidad. O sea, hay varias personas, pero es importante buscar en quién confiar.
Muchas gracias.
Hi, my name is Judah from the Women's Academy of Excellence, and I'm in the 9th grade. And my question is, do you think teachers should be allowed to have guns in school?
Teachers are trained first and foremost to be educators, and we feel very strongly that teachers should be educators. They are trained in safety protocols, and we do practice drills precisely so that everyone in the community knows how to respond if there's a problem. But no, we believe that educators are educators. The idea is to keep guns out of our schools, not bring them in.
Hi, my name is Awa Bakayoko, and I'm a sophomore at the Women's Academy of Excellence. And I have a question for the NYPD. Have there ever been any gun violence cases in the Bronx that have emotionally afflicted you?
Say that again. The acoustics here is not the best. Say that again.
Have there ever been any gun violence cases in the Bronx that have emotionally afflicted you?
She's asking if there's any case in the Bronx that has affected you, touched you in some way.
Well, absolutely. Talk about school violence. Last September, I responded to the school where Matthew McCree was stabbed and killed. That was a very difficult situation, not just for me, but for my investigators to deal with. So something like that, anytime a police officer deals with children who are hurt or harmed, we're human beings, we're parents, I have children, these things stay with you. Trust me, they do, they affect us. And, we stay professional, we stay focused. But of course, we are absolutely, affected by things like that.
El Assistant Chief nos comenta que a la pregunta de que si alguna vez le ha tocado un caso que realmente le toque, digamos, en el ejercicio de su profesión, y él dice que sí, que absolutamente, que en un incidente en septiembre pasado, cuando respondieron a una escuela, pues tuvo que enfrentar una situación muy difícil y que en general para los investigadores, para los oficiales de la policía, es muy duro cada vez que tienen que pensar en que hay niños heridos o niños involucrados en algún hecho violento. Next question.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Janelle. I'm from the Charter High School for Law and Social Justice in the Bronx. And my question is, what are you going to do that is not already being done? Meaning, we see the same thing happening day and day, month and month, year and year. Death tolls are rising, and representatives of our country and of our nation are saying the same thing over and over. What are you going to do that is special, or what are you going to say that you're going to do is going to make a difference?
So, let me give it a go at this one. Understand, the DA said this earlier, New York State has some of the strongest, if not the strongest, gun control laws of all the 50 states. In fact, when you look at the Gifford Law Center to prevent gun violence, New York State gets like an A- grade. It has the 5th strongest gun laws and one of the least amount of gun deaths of all the 50 the 50 states. We're 48 out of 50. How many of you here are 17 years or younger? Raise your hand. When I was 17, going back to the specific question that the young lady just asked, when I was 17, the year was 1990. 1990 in the Bronx saw 653 homicides in 1 year. 653. Last year we had 72. Now, I celebrate because there's 72 families who still lost a loved one. But we've been doing, the NYPD, the community, the district attorney, different organizations. And so we still know that we need to do more. And we can sit up here and say we are safer than we've been, and we have been, if you look at the numbers. The question becomes how you feel. You know, there's this old saying that vacation is a state of mind. In other words, you can go somewhere on vacation and lay in the beach, but if you're still thinking about work, and if you're still stressed out, are you really on vacation? So when we say that we are safer than ever, it's a state of mind. Now, with the gun violence and the gun issues and the shootings in schools, this has put all of this in the forefront. Do you all really feel like somebody is going to shoot you up in your schools? Raise a hand. Do you feel like you're going to be shot up in your schools? I don't see any hands raised. Do you still feel like there's a great possibility that you could get shot? Raise your hand. So you feel that way, but not necessarily in your school building. Now, what we can all do, and what I think that is happening, is that we are seeing a movement by young folks because Congress still needs to pass stronger, unified gun laws so that we can have less and less of these guns come into places like New York. We have strong laws, but yet you still feel that there's a possibility that you could get shot, not necessarily in your schools, but perhaps somewhere in your neighborhoods. So what are the things that we can do? Look, I don't want to get too political here. I'm a Democrat, and unfortunately we see that the other party is not willing to adopt stronger gun control laws. And I think that if more and more young people, regardless of party affiliation, continue, because
the adults are not making the change on the unified gun laws. As safe as we are in the Bronx and safe as we are in New York City, we can get even safer, but we need DC to act. Tenemos que seguir, ustedes como la juventud, tienen que seguir luchando y protestando para que tengamos más leyes fuertes y uniformadas para que el Congreso tenga esa presión. Yo creo que los adultos, los diferentes políticos, no vamos a llegar a ver ese día si no tenemos el respaldo y los esfuerzos de nuestra juventud. So one of the things that I want to continue to do from my end is to make sure that we give young people the platform. One of the things that I want to do is that whenever you guys want to go to D.C., I want to be able to facilitate those trips. One of the things that I want to do politically is elect people who would go down there and ultimately vote for stronger gun control laws.
Really quick before we go, amazing conversation obviously so far and so many people to get to. We have like 20-ish minutes left, which is unfortunate because I want to get to as many questions as possible. So just in general, when we're talking, answers and all that, just a reminder. So next one.
Good afternoon. My name is Patricia Rodriguez. I go to Women's Academy of Excellence, and I'm a graduating junior. My question is, if Donald Trump signs the bills for teachers to have guns in school, what rules or laws will you pass to ensure the safety of the students in the Bronx community?
I spoke enough. I'll take this as well. I think that in New York City and New York State, that would not be a problem for us. We've already heard from the leadership, the political leadership up in Albany and certainly in the city government, that there is no way that we would allow, and nor do the teachers in New York City want to carry guns. In my opinion, when I speak to teachers, they don't want to carry guns inside the school. There's no place for it. I just don't know where the president's mind is in thinking about this being a solution, but I wouldn't be too worried about that happening here locally.
Presidente, en español brevemente.
Sí, no sé lo que está pensando el presidente cuando dice que o está proponiendo que los maestros tengan armas de fuego adentro de los salones en nuestras escuelas. Eso no es una solución y ya hemos escuchado del gobernador y el liderazgo en Albany y también aquí en la ciudad de Nueva York, el alcalde y el consejo municipal. Yo creo que aunque eso suceda, y no creo que va a suceder, aunque eso suceda, yo no creo que eso va a tomar una diferencia o que vamos a ver eso en los salones de la ciudad de Nueva York y en el estado de Nueva York.
Muchas gracias. Next question.
My name is Latia Costa. I also attend the Charter High School for Law and Social Justice. I have a question. What are other alternatives besides metal detectors to keep us safe from gun violence in schools?
What other alternatives, what?
Besides metal detectors in schools, because people could still sneak in weapons in other ways.
I'll take this one. The biggest answer is in building community and developing relationships with students and having strong student engagement. So students like yourselves have a forum and a voice and the ability to weigh in and be part of the solution. That really is the biggest way we can address any sort of violence issues, not to mention violence that involves weapons.
Señora Herrera, en español brevemente.
Sí, que la respuesta principal sería tener más formas de comunicarnos con los alumnos y que sean parte de la solución. Eso es muy importante, que formar comunidad y buscar una solución entre todos.
Esto era la pregunta de la estudiante que se refería a, además de detectores de metales, cómo mejorar la seguridad en las escuelas para los estudiantes. Muchas gracias, señora Herrera. Siguiente pregunta.
Since there's not a lot of time, we're only going to take your questions, the ones that are here on this line, so if you can.
Okay. Well, mine is more of a suggestion, but hi, my name is Darnie Pauly, and I go to Bronx Collegiate Academy, and I'm also a representative on Taft Student Council. And my suggestion is making more community activities, because I live like an hour away from my school. So attending after school and getting home at 8 o'clock is not good. So if we have like more community centers in our neighborhoods, I feel like teenagers will not be in so much trouble that they're in now.
Hi, I'm Jadiana, and me and the two people behind me are a part of the SOS Youth Council. So my question is, instead of having the media focus on these shootings, why don't they focus on the youth who are trying to reduce gun violence? Instead of having everybody be scared about the shootings, show the people who are working towards reducing it.
Hi, my name is Nicole Motri. This question is for our president. How committed are you in supporting the youth who are more at risk of being shot or shooting someone?
I'm sorry, I can't. Just speak right into the microphone. I know that you're reading, but keep the microphone right in your mouth. There, good.
How committed are you in supporting the youth who are more at risk of being shot or shooting someone with alternatives instead of getting locked up? Please state an example.
So if we want to keep this 100, as it said, want to keep this conversation honest, the fact is that whether it's gun violence, violence with other weapons, assault, or bullying, what I'm trying to get at with Young World is the mentality. We have community centers. I just put in $3 million for a YMCA in the Northeast Bronx. We're doing YMCAs. We have community centers. We put in the money. We do all of that. Do all of the kids feel like it's cool to go to these community centers? It seems to me, and I wanted to highlight you guys, because it seems to me like the cool thing to do is to be bad. The cool thing to do is to bully somebody and assault somebody and put it on Instagram or on social media. The overwhelming majority of young people, 99%, don't want violence. But it seems to me like everybody now has this mentality just so that nobody messes with them. With all of the statistics that I read to you about how bad it is, I'm not saying life is perfect now. I didn't feel unsafe in my school. And my block, even though there were other blocks that were going that had a lot of shootings, my block was fun. And the girls on the block, we had fun. And if you were big and bad, you dealt with those that were big and bad. And if you were not big and bad, nobody messed with you. But it seems like everybody wants to puff up. Everybody wants to be the tough guy or the tough girl. And so what I'm trying to understand is the psychology, the mentality of young people. And why is it that in this day and age, it is so cool to pick on somebody? It is so cool that whenever somebody's having a fight, all the cell phones go up and you have the observer effect. And I could finance all, and we could all do all of the programming and all of the after-school programs that you need. But if your mentality, not you guys here, but if the young world's mentality does not change, then we're just going to see more and more violence. You guys have to start being the leaders here.
Una línea breve, obviamente en español, presidente Díaz.
Bueno, no sé cómo decirlo todo, lo más breve posible. La realidad, ella preguntó si tenemos más programas para evitar la violencia entre la juventud. Nosotros tenemos muchos programas y desde nuestra oficina, trabajando con los oficiales electos, aquí en el condado del Bronx y a nivel de la ciudad de Nueva York, vamos a seguir dándole los recursos, pero vamos a ser honestos aquí. Nosotros sabemos que hay una mentalidad. Psicológicamente la juventud como que se creen que todo el mundo tiene que pelear. Todo el mundo tiene que ser la persona que tiene una reputación
de ser, como se dice, peleón, de guapo. De guapo. Entonces, para mí lo que yo le estoy diciendo es que yo quiero mejor entender la mentalidad de nuestra juventud, porque no importa cuántos programas, si no cambia la actitud, si no cambia esa mentalidad, entonces, aunque brindamos tantos programas, todavía vamos a ver la violencia.
Vamos a hacer una pequeña pausa para una pregunta que nos transmiten desde Facebook. Como ustedes recuerdan, esta es una transmisión que tenemos en las diferentes plataformas digitales y nos pregunta la señora Alexandra Almonte, ¿qué deben hacer las madres si notan que su hijo tiene un problema de salud mental? Entonces, adelante con la pregunta. Jennifer.
Muchas gracias. I'll first answer it in English and then I'll translate in Spanish. If you're a parent, but also if you're a student, I encourage you to, of course, reach out to the school resources that are on campus. But I also want to recognize the fact that sometimes it's not always easy to go forward and talk about some very serious concerns to folks in person. So I want to make sure that I also talk about one of the city's resources, NYC Well. Have you guys heard of it? No? Okay, then you're hearing about it tonight, all right? And then I also want to say that for folks who are here, we have information in the back that you can get the information in person. NYC Well is the city's mental health resource that you can connect to immediately. You can call, but you can also text. Do we text here? A little bit? Some texting? All the time? So we can call, we can text, we can chat. And it's very important to access the service. You can be anonymous, it's confidential. It doesn't matter what your immigration status is, and you can reach out and ask for services if you are dealing with any kind of concern. If you're having anxiety, depression, but if also you're seeing others that are dealing with anxiety, depression, or more severe mental illness. We are not all experts in mental health, and the system is very, very hard to navigate sometimes. So NYC Well is there to help you connect to the services that are available to you. También en español, NYC Sana, NYC Well, es un recurso en la ciudad que es para toda la gente. Puedes llamar, puedes textear, puedes chatear con alguien confidencialmente y puede llamar cuando quieras, 24 horas al día, 7 días a la semana. Si tienes preguntas de qué recursos existen en tu comunidad, también para usted. No importa qué es tu estatus inmigratorio, también pueden ayudarte a encontrar algo que puedes obtener si no tienes seguro tampoco. 1-888-NYC-WELL is the number. Okay, I just want to say that. 1-888-NYC-WELL, 1-888-692-9355. If you're here once again, you can get the recourses, the services here in the back. You can get some pamphlets, okay? Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
My name is Deshaun Etheridge, and the question I have is, New York gun laws are very strict, but in other states it's very easy to get a gun. So why don't we make a federal gun law that all states have to follow? And also what my shared to me, he has said like he been hearing like us talk about the community using gun laws, but what about cops abusing their authority with gun law?
What about what?
Gun violence.
What about what was the last part?
He said he's been hearing like us talk about people in the community using gun violence, but what about cops abusing their authority with gun violence?
Well, I'll speak to the federal laws. As I said, I went down with almost 40 other district attorneys throughout the United States, to Congress, going to the senators and to the representatives and asking them not to pass that Reciprocity Act where you could bring a gun anywhere in the United States. So we have to keep the pressure on to make sure that they don't pass that. All right, so New York has great gun laws, but why should a state like New Hampshire, where you don't have to do a background check, you don't have to show them any ID or anything, you could just go in a store, give them the money and buy a gun. That person should not be able to come to New York and carry that gun. And then it's also very confusing for the police, because how are they going to know if somebody has a gun legally or not? So therefore, we have to, you're right, we have to continue to fight for federal laws so that all states can be safe and there'd be a universal law. So we should continue that. Keep fighting. Keep fighting.
Es importante aquí, I'm sorry, Assistant Chief, I'll translate real quick. La fiscal acaba de comentar, obviamente, frente a la pregunta de un control mucho más federal, más a nivel de país en cuanto al tema de las armas. Dice que sí, que es una batalla que hay que seguir librando, que por supuesto pasa, por ejemplo, que en Nueva York no se pueden comprar ciertas armas, pero alguien en otro estado la puede traer, lo cual resulta incluso confuso para los propios policías, saber cuál es el origen de esa arma. Así que ella está de acuerdo en que definitivamente hay que buscar una legislación que sea federal, es decir, que cubra al país y no solamente a los diferentes estados o a nivel local. Thank you, sir.
So I just want to talk really quickly on the model that the NYPD is moving forward, and that's the model of neighborhood policing. So the majority of precincts in the Bronx already have neighborhood policing, the NCO program. Pretty soon, the good news is every precinct in the Bronx is going to have a neighborhood coordination officer program. So I know that we have some NCOs in the back here. I don't know if you want to raise your hands, but what your NCOs are doing in every community, in every precinct in the Bronx, are getting out and fostering that connection, that familiarity between the police and you and the community. And they're creating build-a-block meetings, which will be just those neighborhood coordination officers, no chiefs, no captains, just you and your NCOs. And those build-a-block meetings are not adults only. You should find out when those are. I'm sure they'd love to meet you. I'm sure they'd love to talk to you. I'm sure they would love to hear your opinion and what you're thinking. It's important. So do that. Find out when those build-a-block meetings are and go and meet your NCOs. And we build and we foster that community connection and we build that familiarity. And that's how we move this forward.
El Assistant Chief está contándonos que pues se mueven en la mayoría de todos los precintos, tienen programas especiales de coordinación y acercamiento con la comunidad, y aquí obviamente los integrantes están incluso aquí presentes en ese fortalecimiento de las relaciones que para ellos es lo más importante. Incluso hace una invitación a aquellos que quieran acercarse al oficial de su comunidad, a los uniformados, y establecer con ellos una relación mucho más directa. Dice que son bienvenidos para ese fortalecimiento de las relaciones.
Hello, my name is Miguel. I am 11 years old and I represent Gun Town Life Up. My question is, what do you guys do every day to stop gun violence, and how should it make the community feel better and safer?
My name is David Feliciano. How we're going to get all these people, community, all these surrounding neighborhood, after all these century years, that these poor and these unwanted stuff, I'm tired with violence. I'm sick and tired around with guns and knives, and I'm tired with how we're going to treat them, protect people in the community, how we're going to get them to work, get them to school every day, because this is a nice, we call this state, the Empire State is the largest state in New York. Because, why? Because I'm no fan of violence and gangs. I'm tired of this. I want to make it safer, and I want all the police department get manpowers. I just want them to feel them be safe again, be secure.
Bueno, las palabras de este joven es el perfecto resumen de... Quisiéramos invitar ahora a cada uno de los panelistas a que respondan esa pregunta. Él dice, estamos cansados de la violencia, sea de cuchillos, sea de pistolas, estamos cansados de la violencia. So, this is a great question to find, to finish this great forum. So I would like to each one of you, if you can, please finish with some last remarks. So let's start with Jennifer. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. I would say that in a general statement to close up, once again, talking to each other, talking to the resources that you have available, talking with each other about how you can organize and fight against gun violence, but also being very honest with ourselves making sure that we aren't help create concerns. When we see bullying, we stop it, we don't partake in those things, and then when we need to access services that we stand up and we reach out to the services that are available to us. So I want to thank everyone here. Thank you, all of our sponsors. It was a pleasure being here, and thank you to the students for participating and asking your great questions.
I would say, I would present a challenge to you as students. As a district attorney, I have a number of programs that I'm doing, and I work in partnerships with people in the community. But what I want to hear is, what do you want us to do? Sometimes we come up with solutions that we think is best, but it's better if it comes from you. So I'm offering to you now, as a district attorney of the Bronx, to contact my office with your ideas on creating a solution to the gun violence and the violence that you have in your community, because only you know what's going to work in your community. So I'm here. I have an open mind, and I'd like to hear your ideas, and let's see if we can come up with something together to reduce the violence in your community.
Thank you, DA.
I want to continue to encourage you, students, to realize your full potential and your voice. Recognize that you have a voice and that you are influential in creating policies that keep you safe, in daily practices in your school that keep you safe, in making change. So I really want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing and advocating to end gun violence.
Just really quickly, police officers, detectives, we're very proud people, and we're very proud of the work that we're doing. But make no mistake, you are such an integral part of that. We need your coordination, we need communication with you, and we need your support. So when you encounter police officers, don't run from them, say hi to them. When you see these fantastic school safety officers, your NCOs, reach out to us. We're there for you. We're here to protect you, we're here to serve you, and we're here to keep you safe. But we want to hear from you, and we need your input, and we need your support. So thank you so much.
It must be really, really stressful being your age in this day and age. There must be a whole lot of anxiety. Anxiety that we didn't feel when we were teenagers, especially going to school. When it comes to young folks, I know that you're tired of that anxiety. You have to be. You have to be. No matter how tough you are, no matter where you come from, it's not sustainable to lead a happy life if you're always with that tension and that anxiety. The question becomes, who do you talk to? You heard this quite often here tonight. Like, by a show of hands, if you found yourself in a dangerous situation, if you know somebody who's finding themselves in a dangerous situation, if you're being bullied, if you know somebody who has a gun, do you have somebody that you can go to? And I'm not talking about the fellas or your homegirls. I'm not talking about your block. I'm talking about, do you have someone that you can talk to? Raise your hand if you do. Do you feel that the overwhelming majority of the people that are in your school do not have somebody to talk to? Raise your hand. Because, raise your hand, I can't see your hands, come on. So there's just not that avenue. I think it's not realistic when we say, come and talk to us. I know that SOS, and I know Jaime, shout out to Jaime, and all the good folks at SOS. I know you've been doing that for quite some time. I see Gloria Cruz here, who's been fighting a good fight with moms who are mothers of victims of gun violence. You have to help, and we have to help you. But when you speak of an attitude and a mentality, how do we begin to change that? How do we make it cool? Like some of you, or most of you are sitting. Maybe you're a little nervous. Maybe you didn't know what to expect. You were a little subdued. There are TV cameras and adults. You are, in my opinion, cool. And I don't know if you feel cool. How do we make it so that the responsible young folk is the person that other young people look up to? How do we change the observer effect? How do we give you more and more outlets and people so that you can go to and listen to you and not talk down to you? I want to know that. I need you to give us the opportunity to supply you with this. So I look forward to continuing the conversation. I am so proud of you for coming out. I am inspired by you, and hopefully other young people are as well. Thank you.
Bueno, quizás a manera de síntesis de todo lo dicho por nuestros panelistas, pues pareciera que buena parte de la clave de este problema está en el relacionamiento, en la cooperación y en la ayuda de la comunidad con las autoridades. Y también el presidente del Bronx un importante cambio en la cultura, es decir, en la mentalidad, en la actitud, y una invitación de cómo transformar esta realidad sobre la violencia de las armas. Queremos agradecerles a todos nuestros panelistas. Very briefly, I would say that one of the main conclusions of this great opportunity is how important it is for the community to be working side by side with the authorities, of course, in order to strengthen, obviously, the possibility of helping. And if you see something, say something to reality. And also, as President Diaz pointed, it's key that the children also have the opportunity to have a different kind of culture in terms of the mentality and the idea of how we approach this gun violence. So it's a debate that is worth to keep open, and obviously there will be many other discussions, but this has been a great opportunity so far, and it's been a pleasure to have you all here with us, and thank you so much, Jessica. It's been a great opportunity.
Thank you. And it's interesting that we started this panel and this conversation tonight about, okay, we saw the March for Our Lives, we saw what's going on in DC with the march, and that all young people across the country have come together. But it's so funny that now, and interesting and awesome and amazing, that we just kind of like that here in the Bronx. Like, we've been watching that pattern across the country, and we had kids from the Bronx go down to Manhattan for the march, we had kids from the Bronx go down to DC, but literally was just born in this room was you guys having this conversation about our borough specifically, which is awesome. Amazing questions. Let's shout out to our panelists once again. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time and concern. And thank you all for your questions.
Si me permiten brevemente en el español.
Claro, presidente.
Déme darle las gracias a Univisión, a Radio Guado, al Diario, por estar aquí con nosotros, por tener esta conversación, este diálogo tan importante, por darle la atención a nuestra juventud, de parte de no solamente el condado del Bronx, sino de todos los neoyorquinos. Les quiero dar las gracias por estar aquí con nosotros.
Pues gracias a ustedes. Nuevamente, muchas gracias a nuestro distinguido panel, a Rubén Díaz Jr., presidente del condado del Bronx, nuestro anfitrión, a Jason Wilcox de la NYPD, Luis Herrera del Departamento de Educación de la ciudad de Nueva York, a la fiscal del Bronx, Darcel Clark, y por supuesto a Jennifer Páez de Thrive NYC. Y a todos los que hicieron posible esto. Queremos resaltar a Noticias 1, News 12 Bronx, el diario Bronxnet, Aguado 1280, a la Fiscalía del Bronx, la oficina del presidente del Bronx.
Thank you all. Thanks to the Bronx Borough President's Office, Bronx District Attorney, El Diario, Wado 1280, Bronxnet, Univision, and us here at News 12 The Bronx. Thank you.
Good job, everybody. My name